Welcome back. In my last lecture, I was discussing about the strong Slotin Filler representation, conceptual dependency, and so far we have discussed the 9 rules. In this video, however, I would like to revisit rule number 9 and we will finish till rule number 14. At the end of this video, you will be well versed in representation of English sentence into conceptual dependency sentence. So let us revisit rule number 9. Rule 9 is basically a destination relation, that is from PP here is the source and the PP over here is the destination. So basically for an act, rule number 9 specifies which is the source object and which is the destination object for an act. D is the destination relation. So it describes the relationship between the act and its physical source and destination. Example, John fertilized the field. Now let us see this sentence. What's the meaning of fertilized? Okay, it simply means that John was having a fertilizer bag filled with fertilizer. He removed the fertilizer from the bag. Then he went to his field and he sprinkled the fertilizer in the field. So when I talk about this fertilized action, what is the primitive act that you're going to use for this fertilized action? Okay, according to me, here I am using transfer of what? Okay, transfer of fertilizer from the bag which is present at one place to the field at another place. So it is physical transfer, P trans relation. Okay, so the act involved over here is a P trans, physical transfer, and the object involved in this particular action, okay, is what? It's the fertilizer, right? The source and destination in this case is what? The source is the fertilizer bag. So John removed the fertilizer from the bag, and the destination where the fertilizer was placed is the field. The source is the bag and destination is the field. So with all this information that we have, let us go and frame the sentence. Again see, John fertilized. So this is already in past tense. So John P trans. Okay, past tense P trans. So what it means is he removed the fertilizer. Okay, he removed the fertilizer. Fertilizer is the object involved in the action of P trans, and he moved. After removing the fertilizer from the bag, he went to the field and he placed or he sprinkled the fertilizer in the field. Now the question is, what is the source and what is the destination? Okay, so for that the destination relation has to be established. So the source is the bag, the fertilizer bag from which he removed the fertilizer, and the destination is the field where he sprinkled. So this entire CD representation tells you that John has physically transferred object, that is fertilizer, from the bag onto the field, and P here stands for past tense. He has already done this activity. D here stands for destination relation. It just tells you that fertilizer now is moved from the bag into the field. So this is the representation. Rule number 10 describes the relationship between the PP and a state in which it is started and another state in which it is ended. Okay, so basically I forgot to write here. You should write PP over here. So rule number 10, it shows the relationship between a PP and PA are what? They are the states. So it is the state in which it started and another state in which it ended. Okay, two states of PP. Now when do we use this rule? For example, the plants grew. It simply means that the plants, the PP, that is plants, initially the size was equal to X, and now the size is greater than X. So the size of the plant was equal to x, and now the size of the plant is greater than x. This actually means that the plant has grown, plant grew. So this is used. This is done using rule number 10. PA is the state in which it started, the initial size of the plant, and this PA tells you the state in which it ended, the current size of the plant, right? Rule number 11, there are two parts here. It describes the relationship between one conceptualization and another that causes it. Okay, so it just describes the relationship between one conceptualization here, one conceptualization, and the another that causes it. The two forms of rules that describe the cause of action and the cause of state change. And this is a sentence: Bill shot Bob. Okay, now what this is a tricky sentence, especially because in this one sentence there is so much that you can deduce. Okay, so we are using rule number 11 to represent this sentence because by using rule 11 we'll be able to describe the cause of action. What's the meaning of shot? What happened? Okay, and then what was the effect or what was the result of uh, shooting the bullet? Okay, so you just see, so this part here is this part, one conceptualization, okay, cause of action, and this part over here, it is the state change that happened because of this action. So just see, now when you say Bill shot Bob, what actually happened was, shot means it's a past tense, so please note P is written here. Now what is the meaning of shot? Shot means the trigger was pressed and the bullet, it moved, it came out, it propelled from the gun and went and struck Bob. So what action are you going to use for shot? So propel action. So Bill propel, that means after pulling the trigger, okay, the bullet propelled, no? What is the object for propel? Bullet. And from where bullet propelled? So for that you require a recipient relation. So the bullet which was initially in the gun, it propelled, and who received it? Bob. So this is the meaning of the cause of the action. Okay, so Bill was there, he pulled the trigger, so the bullet which was there in the gun, it propelled, and from gun it went towards the Bob and it struck Bob. So the recipient of the action was Bob. Recipient of the propel action was Bob, and the object involved in propel was bullet. Clear? Now after this action happened, after this conceptualization happened, the second part here, it describes, okay, the state change. What happened after this action or after this conceptualization took place? Okay, what happened? What was the second conceptualization? So this arrow is used here to show the second conceptualization here. Okay, so Bob, whose health, again there is slight change here. Okay, so the Bob whose health initially was 100%. Okay, this, don't consider this, this is a mistake. Bob whose health was 100%. Okay, what happened to his health? His health, it reduced to -10, something like this. That means is very much affected. Health reduced to -10. This is the effect of the action. Now you'll ask me from where I took this. This is basically PA and PA. This is this rule. PA, PA, the state change, right? Right? So I will again recapitulate the meaning of the sentence. The sentence given to you was Bill shot Bob. So here there are two conceptualizations that you have to show. In the first conceptualization, the cause of the action. What happened? So it is Bill who must have pulled the trigger, and as an effect, okay, the bullet which was there in the gun, it propelled and it went and it shot or it hit Bob. So Bill, uh, after pulling the trigger, the bullet which was there, it just came out, it was fired, so that action is propel. Okay, which is the object involved in the propel action? What went out? It is the bullet. So object involved in this propel action is bullet. And from where, what was the source and what was the destination for the bullet? Okay, the bullet from the gun, it went and Bob received it. Okay, so now what was the effect of this? Bob, whose health was initially 100%, now it became -10. So he is seriously ill, seriously injured, about to die. Yes. Rule number 12. It describes the relationship between a conceptualization and the time at which event described occurred. Now here, above this arrow, you're going to write the time at which that conceptualization occurred. As an example, John ran yesterday. It's very easy to represent John ran. Since this is past tense, and what is the meaning of run? Run means you're moving from one place to another. So it is P trans. Okay. So John P trans. Okay. John P trans. And are you going to represent past tense here? If I had written P directly P here, it means past tense. John ran. But there is some additional information also that is given here. He did not run away 10 years back, or he did not run away 1 month back, but exactly yesterday, right? So yesterday is the extra information which is given. So if it was only John ran, then you would have written John P trans and past tense. But now exact time of running is also mentioned, that is yesterday. So for that this rule is used. So John P trans and when? Yesterday. No need to write past tense. Is it clear? Let's go to the rule number 13. Now this rule, it describes the relationship between one conceptualization, the first conceptualization, and another that is in the time of the first. So it describes the relationship between one conceptualization and another which is occurring in the time of the first one. Okay. Now note that we are going to use one representation here, CP. CP, it stands for consciousness processor. Okay. So for example, to see something. Okay. Now seeing act, it means it's a transfer of information from my eyes to my consciousness processor. Basically conscious processor is nothing but a part of brain that processes the information. So when I say I see, okay, the information actually goes from my eye to my brain, where it gets registered what I saw. Similarly, when I say I hear, okay, it means the information goes from my I heard his sound, or I heard John's voice. If I say this here, the information actually gets transferred from my ear to my consciousness processor, where it gets registered, and that's how you come to know that this voice is John's voice. So theoretically we are going to just use CP, and remember CP is nothing but consciousness processor or conscious processor. Okay, part of your brain. Okay, now you consider this sentence: while going home I saw a frog. There are two things which are happening. First conceptualization, that I was going home. So the first conceptualization here is that I was going home, and while I was going home, what happened? The second conceptualization, that is while I was going home, while this activity was ongoing, second conceptualization is that I saw a frog, right? So while going home should be the first conceptualization, and the second conceptualization, while this thing was happening, I saw a frog. Fine. So so this is how it can be represented. The first conceptualization is represented here. The second conceptualization is represented here. Now watch carefully. The first conceptualization actually means while going home. Okay. Who is the object who was going home? Obviously, it is I. I was going home, right? So, object involved is I. What's the meaning of going home? That means he was walking from a particular place to the destination, right? Going home means what? It means from some source he was going to the destination. So, the act here involved, primitive act is P trans. So I P-trans. That means while going home. Now, is it essential to write past tense here? No, because while going home, that means the activity was going on. It was in process. Okay. So you need not write P over here on top of this. So while going home, who was the object involved in this going home activity? It was again I. I was involved with P-trans. Correct? And where I was going, okay, now here also there is some mistake. Please note. Okay, in place of this you should write question mark. Okay, so which means unknown. This is unknown. This is unknown, so question mark. So what is the destination relation? From some unknown place I was going to my home. Okay, so this entire thing is nothing but the meaning of while going home. Okay, so I P trans, I am the object involved, I am the PP, action is P trans. Okay, what is the object involved in pretrans? It is I, me. And from where the destination relation tells from where I was going to which destination. From some unknown place I was going to my home. Okay, slightly tricky, but try to understand the meaning of this sentence. Now while this conceptualization was happening, okay, we also expand and write the second conceptualization. So while going home, what happened? I saw a frog. Okay, now when I say saw means what? Now there is also one action called as M trans. Okay, memory transfer. Tell something is in your memory and you are transferring it. Correct? So I saw means what? Just see, I M trans, memory transfer. Okay, object involved is frog. Yeah, and from my eyes, the recipient relation tells me that from my eyes, okay, it got transferred to my consciousness processor. Okay, so again I'll repeat this. I was the object, I saw frog, so I is an object, the action here is seeing. Okay, so seeing means what? After seeing, the image should go from my eyes to my consciousness processor brain, and only then brain realizes, array, this is a frog. Correct. So the object involved here is I, the action is M trans, memory transfer. Okay, what image I am transferring, memory transferring? It is frog. So object involved in M trans is frog. Okay, and what is the recipient relation? From my eyes, that image is transferred to consciousness processor, and then I realize that it's a frog. Okay, is it clear? Okay, rule number 14, it describes the relationship between a conceptualization and the place at which it occurred. Okay, it describes the relationship between a conceptualization and the place where it occurred. Okay, example, I heard a frog in the woods. Where I heard the frog? In the woods. So this is the place. Now I heard a frog. What's the meaning of I heard a frog? Okay. Again, it's a memory transmission, memory transfer, right? So like previous sentence, forget about this. I am trans. Okay, memory transfer. Hearing is again memory transfer. What is the object involved in memory transfer? It is frog. And how you came to know that it is frog? Because from my eyes, okay, the sound went into my consciousness processor. So the recipient relation is consciousness processor, and in conscious processor, I realized that it's a frog. So the recipient relation here is uh, from ears to CP. The object involved in memory transfer is frog. Yes. Now, whatever I have shown you, that is only the conceptualization. Now, rule 14 describes the place at which it has occurred, and that is described using this arrow and place. So, so in the woods. So the place where this happened, the place where this happened is woods. Okay. So these are the 14 rules which are used in conceptual dependency. Okay. Using these rules, okay, using the combination of these rules, you can form more such sentences, and believe me, the sentences will be very powerful. Okay, but there are also some shortcomings that you must have realized by now. There are some shortcomings for conceptual dependencies. Okay, now before we go to the shortcomings, let us see some more example. Jenny cried. Now, cry means what? It's basically the tears are expelled. Now, tears come out of your eyes. So, what is that action? That action is, what is the action? Okay, expelling something out of your body. Okay, so ingest is one action wherein the thing is ingested, and expel. So basically, expel is the action wherein something comes out of your body. For example, tears come out of your eyes. So that action is expel action. Jenny cried, and this activity has happened in the past tense. So Jenny expel. Okay. Now, what is the object involved in this expel action? Okay, crying action, tears, right? Now, tears are involved, but what is the destination? Okay, so from eyes, tears, they originate from the eyes, and they are shed. Now, where do they drop? Okay, we don't know. Maybe on the floor, maybe on your hand, or maybe somewhere else. So that's why question mark is written here. So destination relationship is from eyes to unknown place. Now, eyes, whose eyes? It should be Jenny's eyes, right? So these eyes are possessed by Jenny, right? So this is actually the CD representation of Jenny cried. Okay. The second example, Mike went to India. Again, went, the action is physical transfer, correct? You are physically transferring yourself. So it is P trans. It's a past tense. So P, Mike P trans. Now, where he went? He went to India. Okay, so destination relation. Is it told to you from where Mike traveled to India? It is not told. So source is unknown. So question mark. Whenever source is unknown, question mark. And the destination is India. Okay. Then Mary read a novel. Okay. So again, reading is what? It is basically memory transfer. Okay. Read is a past tense. Object involved in this memory transfer is information. Why? Because when you're going to read something, information is the object which is going to be involved with this action. Reading information from the novel. And what is the source and destination of the information? So from the novel, the information went to the consciousness processor of Mary. Okay. Now, as far as the sentence is concerned, this instrument, that is I and all, this is not required. Okay, you may write this, but at your level, at this level, this is not required for you to represent. You can only represent up till this particular part, and the sentence is absolutely okay. You need not represent instrument relation that I have written in this box. Okay. Now, what are the disadvantages of conceptual dependency representation? The very first disadvantage, it is not always completely appropriate to represent using CD. Okay. Why it is not uh, why it is not always appropriate is because the sentence might be very simple, like John shot Bob. Okay, you see this sentence, Bill shot Bob. Sentence is very small, but see what kind of complex representation that you're going to get. Okay, so it may not be always appropriate to represent every sentence into conceptual dependency. Okay, the second disadvantage is it is not easy to find correct set of primitives. Okay, as I've told you. Okay, as I've told you, now in this example, okay, while going home I saw a frog. Okay, you said it is m-trans. Okay, for seeing something you said it is m-trans, but can I use something else? Okay, uh, let's go back and check some primitives that we had discussed, specifically here. Expel, it is expulsion of something from the body of an animal, in general cry. But there is also another thing, that is speak, producing of sounds. I said say, but uh, when I say producing of sounds, when I say producing of sounds, is it also not expulsion of voice or expulsion of sound from the body of animal? So sometimes people may get confused whether to use speak or whether to use expel in this case. Okay, so these are also the things which hamper the use of conceptual dependencies. Okay, so it is not always easy to find a correct set of primitives. Sometimes there is a confusion that comes in your mind which primitive exactly to use. Now, lot of memory is required to store complex representation. You must be, you must be agreeing with this. You see a simple representation like while going home, I saw a frog. A simple sentence. See how complex it became. Okay, as the complexity level increases, more memory will be utilized. So you see that uh, a lot of memory is required to store complex representation. Huge amount of memory will be required to store complex representation. Then for simple actions also, representations are complex. For simple action like which one, Bill shot Bob, a very simple action, but see how complex representation it was, and also it was very confusing, complex, right? And lot of inference is still needed. Okay, many a times with this kind of representations also there might be some confusion, there might be certain thing which might not be so much clear, right? So lot of inference is still needed. So these are the disadvantages of conceptual dependency representation. So after seeing this conceptual dependency representations, we are going to, in my next video, we are going to head on to the next strong slot and filler structure, which are called as scripts. Okay, till then, see you.